according to a recent report by the hashtag We Count project, which is sponsored by the Society of Family Planning, there were roughly 5,000 fewer abortions every month since the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade last June. That means that over the past year, at least 60,000 babies that the abortion industry wanted to kill, they are with us today. It also means that there are many, many mothers who were spared the trauma of going through all of this. And I know that many, many of you who are listening and watching today played a significant role in working and praying about all of this over the years. But there's more to the 60,000 figure than meets the eye. So here to break all of this down and all the numbers is Dr. Michael New. He's associate scholar at the Charlotte Lozier Institute and an assistant professor of practice at the Catholic University of America. Dr. New, welcome back to the program. Always good to have you.
Thanks for having me. Much appreciated.
You bet. All right. So we know that data is hard to come by, frankly, when it comes to the abortion industry. So tell us the process that was used to compile all these numbers and give us an estimate of some 60,000 babies that have been saved.
Yeah, sure. The Society of Family Planning is able to get abortion data from the states, and they look at abortion declines in those states that passed protective pro-life laws after Dobbs, and they've looked at abortion increases in some other states, and they've concluded that there are about 5,000 fewer abortions taking place every month after the Dobbs decision, which was in June 2022, and that comes out to about 60,000 lives saved since Dobbs.
It's amazing. Well, listen, before we even go any further with this, we just want to celebrate. I mean, that's 60,000 is a significant number of lives that have been saved, and we are deeply grateful for not only the Supreme Court decision, but where we are here a year later and seeing the difference that made. And again, hats off to so many of our viewers and listeners and many across this country who were a part of this. So this decline in abortions in the post-Dobbs, it's obviously you've got a lot of pro-life states that are passing a lot of pro-life bills. Obviously, that plays an additional role to all of this. How significant is the combination between the reversal of the Dobbs decision and pro-life legislation passing?
Sure. I mean, the Dobbs decision made it possible for us to pass laws that actually protect preborn children. And in 14 states, there are laws in place that provide pretty much comprehensive protection for all preborn children. There's 4 other states that where either a heartbeat act or a heartbeat law will go into effect or has already taken effect that protects the preborn after 6 weeks gestation. And data is very clear, both in the U.S. and overseas, that when you put laws in place to protect the preborn, abortion numbers go down and lives are saved.
So are you seeing this expand? We've seen a lot of pro-life states move forward on some really good legislation. Are there more states that are jumping on this bandwagon that you're aware of?
Sure. Just within the past week, I think we've had positive developments in 3 states. Nebraska and North Carolina both passed pro-life laws to protect preborn children after 12 weeks gestation. South Carolina, their governor just signed a heartbeat act that will protect preborn children after 6 weeks gestation. And we know these incremental laws have an impact. We know that even any incremental law we pass does quite a lot of good. The Hyde Amendment, which prevents the federal government from using taxpayer dollars to fund elective abortions through the Medicaid program. That has saved over 2.4 million lives since 1976. And there's good research showing that, parental involvement laws, informed consent laws, these laws all save lives as well.
Wow, it's tremendous. Well, as we're watching a lot of pro-life legislation move across the country, we're also watching, obviously, a heightened attack on not only the states, but the legislative organizations, the individual members of those legislatures. The pressure is mounting, wouldn't you say, as we are seeing more and more lives saved? We're also seeing this whole issue stay very much alive, and the pressure is mounting both on the federal and state levels across the country.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of good opportunities for pro-lifers to go ahead and pass protective laws in other states. Me and other pro-lifers think that this is just not a states issue. We'd like to see the federal government take some action. Many of us would like to see Republican presidential candidates agree to support federal legislation to protect preborn children. Some of our Republican candidates are on board, some are not right now. But again, we view this as lots of great opportunities, and we want to try to protect the preborn at all levels of government, local, state, and federal.
So what about these states that abortion is still largely permitted? All right, are those states also seeing a decline in abortion since the Supreme Court decision?
Unfortunately, no. We've seen abortion numbers go up in a lot of these states that are not protecting preborn children. Pro-life laws do a lot of good, but they're not magical, and they can be circumvented. And sadly, there are women who will cross state lines and obtain abortions in states where the laws are more permissive. So in many states that have not passed pro-life laws, we do see abortion numbers going up. Sadly, we also see a lot of states making bad policy choices. Many liberal states are trying to expand access to abortion. Recently, the Medicaid programs in Maine and Illinois, they started covering elective abortions. Massachusetts weakened their pro-life parental involvement law. Illinois, tragically, repealed their pro-life parental involvement law. So we do see some bad things happening in blue and liberal states.
All right, so you mentioned a little while states like Florida and Nebraska, the Carolinas, some of these others that have recently passed some good pro-life legislation. Based on the numbers that you've looked at in other states, what would you anticipate is going to be the result in those type of states as it relates to protecting life and the number of babies, perhaps? Have you been able to look into those type of figures?
Well, I know in like South Carolina, data I've seen from their Department of Health indicates that there's over 2,500 abortions take place after 6 weeks gestation every year. Now, this law won't save all of them, but it will save a lot of them. So I certainly think the recent law that Governor McMaster signed in South Carolina will save thousands of unborn lives.
Okay, so talk to us about a state like Colorado, okay, where abortions actually have increased, okay? Some would argue that states such as Colorado are seeing an increase in abortions because out-of-state mothers are coming there to get an abortion. Is that accurate, or is it because these type of states are just making abortion more accessible?
A lot of the increase in Colorado, I think, is due to women from other states obtaining abortions, in Colorado. Again, I've mentioned other states that have, I think, made bad policy choices. Illinois and Maine, their Medicaid programs in recent years have started covering elective abortions. That's been increasing abortion numbers in those states. But in a lot of states like Colorado, I just do think a lot of the increase is due to women from other states obtaining an abortion, and also increase in chemical abortions. That's been pushing numbers up as well.
Yeah, that's another huge area that this whole battle. In fact, it seems to me, and tell me if you agree, it seems to me that that's really where the next battle line, if you will, is going to take place as it relates to abortions. This whole avenue of chemical abortions, and that in itself, of course, we're watching a huge battle. But is that where the abortion industry really is moving?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's been a big increase in chemical abortions since the FDA approved the chemical abortion pill in 2000. The most recent data we have indicates that more than half of all abortions are chemical abortions. And the other side is really pushing to make the rules a lot more permissive. During the pandemic, it was possible to obtain a chemical abortion pill without an in-person medical exam. The Biden administration, I think foolishly and tragically, has extended that policy. And I think that's obviously devastating for unborn children, but very bad public health as well. If a woman has an ectopic pregnancy and she obtains a chemical abortion pill, that could be fatal. If a woman is further along in gestation, she realizes, and obtains a chemical abortion, that could have some very serious negative health consequences. So the other side is really pushing chemical abortions at the expense of unborn children and the health of women.
And not only are they pushing it, but they have the political wind to their sail as well. This whole issue of abortion has become such a sacred cow to the left that they will do anything to defend it, protect it, advance it, and really force it upon the American people by making taxpayers pay for it. So what is it in your estimation that is driving all of this? We watch as you just described, the science tell us these chemical abortion pills are dangerous. They have not gone through proper study and research through the FDA and so forth, and yet they are being pushed upon the American people as though it's something as basic as a Tylenol or something of that nature. What is behind all of this in your estimation?
Well, several things. The abortion industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry. They plow quite a lot of money in the Democratic Party, and Democrats do a good job doing their bidding for the most part. And also, the Democratic Party, has become a lot more secular and, frankly, a lot more liberal on social issues. It was interesting, Joe Biden's doing things that, Bill Clinton and Barack Obama didn't do. Barack Obama never came out against the Hyde Amendment. Obama thought, abortion should be legal, but he seemed to agree, at least with his budgets, that federal taxpayer dollars shouldn't pay for elective abortions through the Medicaid program. Every budget that Joe Biden has released has proposed removing the Hyde Amendment. So not only does President Biden feel that abortion should be legal, again, he wants our taxpayer dollars to pay for it.
It's stunning, and seeing where all of this is going. I don't know if you just saw or heard the previous guest that I had. There's a case where even universities are forcing students to pay, at least in this one particular class, pay mandatory to pass the class. You have to pay a fee to the abortion industry to pass the class. It's like this is something that is being so forced upon the American people that is so in itself un-American, let alone the nature of ending innocent lives. Do you see, obviously this battle is going to increase. What do you see is going to ultimately, where are we going with this whole chemical abortion push? From a legal, I don't know, you may not be able to answer from a legal perspective, perhaps you can, but just your opinion, where is this whole new avenue of abortions headed?
Well, it is exciting. I mean, Alliance Defending Freedom is pursuing litigation against the chemical abortion pill. They've argued, I would say correctly, that the chemical abortion pill should have never been approved by the FDA in 2000. The FDA approved it under kind of circumstances that should have only been allowed for like life-saving drugs. Pregnancy is not, in most cases, a life-threatening condition. So the FDA, or I should say Alliance Defending Freedom, has made some very strong legal arguments. Their case was heard by the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. We're waiting for a decision on that. But there is a good chance that some good litigation, might protect women and preborn children.
Wow. What other trends are you watching out there, Dr. New? What do you, in the whole pro-life and the abortion push side of things, one way or the other, what positive and or negative other trends are you witnessing in this post-Dobbs environment?
Well, I just think we're going to see lots of polarization. I think the other side is going to try to push chemical abortions as a way to kind of circumvent some of the pro-life laws that are in place. I think you're going to see, a lot of liberal states, sadly, trying to make abortion policy more permissive. We have to push back against that. And we have some exciting opportunities in conservative states to pass better and stronger protective pro-life laws. So the way I see it, Dobbs has created lots of opportunities for pro-lifers, but also lots of challenges.
Yeah, we do have a lot of challenges, and I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think we're going to see more and more of a polarized environment with all of this. So let's try to bring this discussion as we conclude here in a moment. The average person listening or watching you right now, what would you say? I mean, and I say this because the attitude with Dobbs was victory. But we are seeing the left double down and redouble on their efforts to legalize abortion, to force it upon the American people, and to throw people under the bus who disagree with them. What would you say to the average viewer or listener right now as to what they can do to continue staying in the game to protect life?
Well, Dobbs was a big victory for us, but it's not the end. It's not the beginning of the end, but might well be the end of the beginning. And we have over 30 states where abortion is still legal. So I would encourage your listeners to be politically active. Write your congressman. Make sure you vote for pro-life candidates. And we have to fight this in a multifaceted way. I mean, politics is important, but it's not the only thing we do. I would encourage everyone to support pregnancy help centers. They're in every city, doing great work protecting preborn children and helping mothers in need. And also, things like sidewalk counseling. I help organize a sidewalk counseling ministry outside the D.C. Planned Parenthood. We're there every Saturday morning, trying to reach out to women in need, trying to offer some life-affirming alternatives. So we just need to be active. Legislation, service, education, these are all things pro-lifers need to continue doing.
Dr. Michael New, always great to have you on the program. Thank you for breaking down these numbers for us and giving us a great perspective on the battle that has taken place and continues on this issue of life. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Much appreciated.